better time to have a Mound visit? We have playoff baseball underway. Today's an off day for it, but man, what a start. No team has taken it to game 3 in the first round, but we have some good start to it. It's going to be some great matchups. Case, we got a great guest coming up too, an old teammate of mine.
Yes, we do.
Can't wait to have.
This is one of those guests that you told me when we first started this show. This is one of those guests that you told me about, and watching him not only on the field, he's a great player, but I think like listening to him talk off the field got me excited when you told me it was a possibility, and I can't wait to have him on. You could tell. Well, yeah. I mean,
he's one of those consummate pros, grinder, worked hard all the time, loves the game, loves and respects it, loves mixing with everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, was a legend in Boston after everything that went down with that. On the cover of Sports Illustrated with the World Series trophy and the bomb hat.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just lots of laughs. How I did not blow out an oblique and get on the DL. He was behind me on our bus trips. No assigned seats, but I always made sure that I was in or around and right next to, right in front of, or sitting behind Jonny Gomes, because it was always a good time, always a lot of laughs, and great icebreaker. Good guy to have on the team, man. Definitely a team player.
Absolutely, and it's a great time to have him on, especially as we roll into the playoffs right now. And you mentioned, two-time World Series champ,
Boston and Kansas City. I know he got more time with Boston and playing with that team, but still, anytime you can get 2 World Series hood ornaments under your resume, it speaks volumes. So he's doing some great stuff. Lifer in the game, still doing some good stuff outside of the game, and I can't wait to have him on the show. But
yeah, it's going to be pretty phenomenal. And before we get you to that interview, it's worth a mention because you talked about those wild card teams, and we didn't have a single series that made it to that 3rd game. You know what the last wild card series that made it to 3 games was? It was last year. It was the Mets and Padres.
Really?
Yeah. How about that? Isn't that crazy?
No, I think didn't the Blue Jays lose to Seattle in 3?
Seattle.
No,
the Blue Jays didn't win a game in that series, but they had a lead in both games. That's
right.
Yeah,
see,
the Mariners
already cramped up. I'm jarred up from last night's.
Man, I was thinking about you when I was watching that game, man.
Just flat. God. It just seemed very flat. It was like, this is over. I just didn't feel it. I was not feeling it. It was just a bad vibe for me. Again, I always say it's not always who the better team is. It's the team that plays better. But Minnesota's rocking, man. They're thirsty. They got a lot of momentum. And, the heroes, these, people, fan favorites going into these, just like I think you're going to hear from Johnny, how some of these guys during this time, these 11 games, some of these guys are going to become superheroes, superstars because of what they do if they succeed and rise to the occasion and flourish. I remember David Freese was a guy, a teammate that I played with in Anaheim, and he always said, Grill, I hate the regular season, but boy, when, he goes, I go to the next level, it's like I see everything big, I'm locked in. So to hear that, like some people rise to that, and some people are like, oh my God, this is way crazy. And it is. It's nerve-wracking, man. You can hear stadiums and rumblings, and it's next level stuff. So it's an exciting time as a fan. It's an exciting time definitely as a player. I'm excited for certain guys. Like I said, I got old friends that are on teams, and it's hard to root against them. I just want to see great baseball, good legendary moments that stay in baseball lore.
Me too. It's the best time of the year to be a baseball fan. I think whether your team is in it or not, it's so exciting to watch, and I can't wait for the playoffs to continue rolling on, and I can't wait for all of you guys listening to hear this interview with Jonny Gomes. Let's get you to that right now because it was fantastic.
Yeah, if this doesn't get you to like or subscribe what we do semi here, we've had some great guests, but we got a really good one, and we probably could have had him on for 4 or 5 hours just telling stories. He's got plenty of them. and experiences.
That's right.
But yeah, tune in, man. It's going to be great, and let's do it, Case.
Complete debauchery. You know what, Grilli? Actually, I was on the black web the other day, and I saw you and your family's all passports on there still for sale.
That's right. I got robbed in Atlanta. Thank you.
God bless.
I have many identities. Some of them I probably don't want to know if I'm still out there. So
What a hot mess that turned.
Yeah.
That's when smash and grab wasn't even that cool.
No. And even Peterson,
Yeah.
Jace Peterson got right after me. He was the next on the hit list. So
Yep.
I think we needed to use all our hunters, bounty hunter, and just go snapping because MLB security was not helping at all.
No.
So we needed to grab all the hunting gear and the golf clubs and just take care of business ourselves. You mess with
like,
me.
I just got a ping on my credit card for pumping gas in Iraq. Can we get this thing handled?
Yeah, I got just to know where I'm going in the off season for my off season vacation, family vacation, Dubai and Iraq.
What was it? You got your passport stolen, Grilli?
I got my whole
life.
Oh my God!
Right down to the there was a couple sentimental things you'll never replace. My parents. A pen that I signed every contract with. Right?
Geez.
From the first time I got drafted, my parents bought me this pen. I was just devastated about that. And moreover, my hard drive that had all my kids' favorite stuff. Stupid me. It was a rainy day, beginning of the season. I was like, well, we're going to be sitting at our locker, just trying to get life in order, right? Still. And I didn't have all the entourage and assistance. Maybe that's part of my problem.
It was like the perfect. It was like the perfect storm, because it was like right before opening day, so we were still moving in. Everything was in your car, blah blah blah.
Oh,
and
but no better opening day off day than the one I showed you that picture.
I'll throw it up on screen so people can see it. Can we run through that story quick for people who are watching? What is going on in this picture?
This is really. Moreover, we can talk games, we can talk strategy, we can talk all serious, but people don't want to know about that. That's what Mound visits are like. What do you guys talk about when you go out to the Mound? Sometimes nothing at all.
Yep.
Like, you want to go out to dinner tonight, or going to get the guy out so we can go home, or are you going to give up the 3-run bomb? We're eating soup tonight.
We're going to talk about how Jason Grilli pushed a 4-foot iguana into the pool. And my life flashed in front of my face, and to this day, it still haunts me.
If I could ever make, getting naked in front of your teammates and reporters and people that you don't know, walking into the club, if that's not vulnerable enough, I'm going to just set the stage. I'll let Johnny tell from his lens, because I know what mine is, and the picture that you'll maybe be able to flash on screen case.
Yeah.
So, it was an off day. He still has got the scars. We had an off day in Miami. The whole organization, the Atlanta Braves organization, is around the pool. Family, kids, wives, girlfriends, significant others, front office staff. Jonny Gomes, tattooed from
there it is.
head to toe. He's a big. People know this probably about you too. Just big patriot and loved our country, served a little bit, and like I said, no one wants to mess with Jonny Gomes. I don't know if anybody's seen him in the batter's box, but if you see him in a swimming pool like this, you're not messing with him either.
Yeah.
So I said to him, we were all just around the pool. My son wanted to go play wiffle ball. That's why I have a bat in my hand. I said, Johnny, on the way back, let's try to catch one of these things. Huh? He's like, yeah, let's do that. All right. Stupid idea. And so, Johnny, I'll let you take it from here on my return. This is our conversation we had coming to life.
Yeah. So, not really the crocodile hunter type of guy, but whatever. I like to live on the edge. I don't got many fears, but this became a reality for me of a new fear. And I like to kind of be a little rough around the edges, here and there, this guy. But what I found out is I do have a fear after this incident of animals without eyebrows. Okay. we think about animals without eyebrows. This was it, because I didn't know if this guy was having a good day or a bad day or whatever. So it's like, oh, let's kind of touch the tail. Let's move this guy around. And then pops up Jason Grilli up there with a bat. And he gives this gang a little shove. And it was game on when I could no longer see this thing. Now he's underwater. I don't got an IQ of how these things work, if he's going to hunt me, if he's going after me. But I've never ran so fast in water. If you could ever walk on water, that was the time. And as soon as that thing submerged underwater, oh my, complete panic set in. And my life flashed in front of my face, and Jason Grilli up there almost falls in from laughing so.
I'm already laughing.
I'm like, this isn't funny. Like, where is it? Because he's underwater cruising around. I mean, in my head, I'm in a swimming pool with a great white shark, just not knowing what was happening.
Is that not trust, though? Like, you were like, yeah, we're going to catch this. I mean, I set you up great, not because I was like, all right, let's catch these things. How bad can it be? And I don't have an IQ either, but seeing you turn as white as your hat that you're wearing in front of the team, even your wife, who took that picture, by the way, she knew. This is not going to be a good ending.
What a great story that you knock it in. I just go underwater with them and grab them by the back of the neck and I pick them up. Like, that is not how the story ended by any means.
No, but you have a redeeming part two of this story, because after you probably felt a little bit embarrassed in front of the team for that. We had a good laugh. We laugh with, laugh at. We were never. You don't want to corner Jonny Gomes in anywhere, anyways.
Yep.
But Johnny and I were pretty good friends. In the back of the bus, I mean, I had better abs that season because he made me laugh quite a bit. And this moment, he totally redeemed himself, because I took my kids to the aquarium later that day, and there was an infestation, man, in Miami. Like, I don't know why. They were everywhere. And these things were not small. These things were 4 or 5 feet long. And so I get a text message from Johnny while I'm at the aquarium. He goes, all right, first one who catches one wins.
So,
go for the part 2 of the story to totally redeem yourself.
Totally redeemed myself. Never caught an iguana, but I just knew I needed one of these things in my hands. Right? It was definitely a catch and release type of day. But I saw one kind of vulnerable up on some bricks a little bit, and I don't know what to do, right? I mean, my iguana hunting skills without a weapon are pretty light, but I knew if I get my hand around him and maybe grab the tail and, like, I don't know. So I end up grabbing his tail, and I come back and I go in for, the behind the neck grab, and he turns around, he bites my hand. I think it's this one right here. Bites my hand. So now it's on. Right? Not only did you scare me to death, but you bit me. And we're getting ready for opening day. We haven't even kicked off fall yet. So with that being said, I did end up catching him. I held him up. Had a little blood going on right here. And the Atlanta Braves organization, been around for a long time, and I'm not sure the training staff was ready for the opening day potential injury of an iguana bite. And
because they secrete some type of bacteria in their bite, right? We were like,
yeah, that's what. Yeah, so you get on Google on this deal, and it's like your hand's gonna fall off and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I remember telling the training staff, I go, these iguanas are literally staying at a 5-star hotel. These are the cleanest iguanas on the planet. These guys are eating grapes and watermelons and mangoes. I'm not worried about this. They're like, we might have to go get it checked out. And I go, well, let me see if I get some hits tonight. Then we can go get it checked out. But, a little Neosporin and a Band-Aid, and it healed up, and the story still stands.
Wow.
That's my connection to Jonny Gomes right there.
That's how we kicked it off.
That's about as good as it gets. I love that. Let's kick off some baseball talk with you, Johnny. I know we could talk about your Crocodile Dundee type experiences all day, but I want to talk some baseball with you. We're in the playoff season right now, and you've been on a handful of playoff teams, and I mean, won a World Series,
two World
Series. Jeez, that's right. Talk to me about what this time of year means to you, and do you get that itch every time it comes around? Kind of watching the playoffs. Do you watch playoff baseball, and does it do something special for you when this time of year comes around?
Yeah, well, I get first of all, yeah, I definitely watch the playoffs. Grilli and I are probably running out of like true friends in the game still, right? I mean, obviously Freddie Freeman over there, we're running out of the friends, but it's still so exciting. Yeah. You see the fan base, and just knowing what happens during the playoffs is like truly like life changing, right?
Yeah.
It was for me. It is going to be for a lot of these guys. That grand slam last night in Philly, that kid's going to remember that forever. His family's going to remember ever. It's 9 innings of life-changing baseball. Wow. It's really cool.
I love that. And I mean, you mentioned Stott's grand slam. I don't know if you guys saw that video where they played, they had that video going with just the crowd noise. I don't know if you guys saw. Oh my God. It gave me chills. It was, and I'm a Mets fan. I don't even like the Phillies, but watching that, it was just like, you can't help but playoff baseball is just a different atmosphere. But I mean, going off of that and, the amount of playoff teams that you played on, the amount of success that you had in the postseason, what's the secret to it, if there is one? Is it because, everybody talks about everything is ratcheted up, 100 levels in the playoffs, but what's the secret to be able to perform in those moments?
Well, I think what you want to try and do is mirror playoff baseball if you can throughout the season, to where these big moments aren't that foreign, right? And to where you can really maximize or make single at-bats really big in June, July, and August. Same thing with pitchers, to where you want the playoff experience to not be foreign. And that's why when a playoff starts, everyone wants to talk about who's been there, right? So that's a big question with the Orioles right now. No one's been there, so what's going to happen? But they played some big, meaningful games down the stretch, and you want to try and have these big playoff moments in the season. And then what you can just absolutely book on is you will see something in the playoffs that you haven't seen all year. Right? You got Tampa rolling in with the best, defense for 162, and then they're out there playing kick the can, right. In the playoffs. Right. It's like throwing the ball into the seats. Like, what the hell is happening? They got this crazy offense, and all of a sudden they just throw a donut with a 1. Now they're at home. But, you can just book on stuff that's never happened, and then here comes just this, gumbo of sabermetrics, right? Every single frickin' number and this and that, and to where you're like, oh, this guy hits .82 on a slider. You're like, guy don't throw a slider. You got that coming up.
Oh, hence the moment the Blue Jays, who I've been rooting for, no secret I like them and root for, and they pull Barrios out.
Seriously.
That's definitely not coming from the manager. It can't. It has to be iPad.
Is that a decision that they make? In your guys' opinion, is that it? Because I'm watching that and I'm scratching my head. I mean, I was shocked when I saw that happened. I mean, he was dealing, and he walked Royce Lewis, but Lewis had hit 2 homers in the series already, so it's like whatever. You walk that guy, who cares? And he couldn't run anyway because he didn't have whatever. But I'm watching that, and I'm scratching my head, shocked. And I'm thinking to myself that this has to be a situation where, someone in the front office, somebody in the analytics department made that decision on an iPad last night while they're looking through all the numbers, and they're like, "This is the script." Is that how that works? Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in that arena. I've just been on the other side. But I thought we were done with that when Snell went out there and got yanked for Tampa. I thought we were done with, I'm a firm believer in the analytics are good, right? I think our baseball at times can be like rock chompers, this and that. But if analytics didn't work, they would be gone, right? They do work. They do. But at the same time, they're an average. They're an average of 162. They're an average of 2-3 seasons. Now, pitch to pitch is a lot different, right? So, I mean, this guy hits .92 on a slider, and you hang a slider over the middle, right? There's the human element of the game. But yeah, there really hasn't been too many of those scenarios where you're scratching your head in the fourth inning or the fifth inning and the game's over and you're like, those guys are geniuses. I didn't even think of that.
Right.
Yeah, there's
You
no
know, mature.
there's no litmus, test on to figure out, hey man, is this guy's heartbeat 72 in this situation, or
Yep.
I don't like the fact that that you can create a sense of panic and urgency, and you're like, man, they don't believe in me, so you're stripping a little bit of confidence because of a number or a stat. You're like, well, wait, wasn't I here all year?
Yeah. And then, I mean, what's the number? What's the sabermetric? And again, I love these numbers. I work for a data company called Baseball Cloud and Yakutek. Like, I'm all over it. We gift it. We don't tell people how to use it.
Yeah.
But I mean, what happens with like Brios right there going against his old team, right? He is going to empty the tank.
Yep.
He is going to compete like he hasn't competed. He's going against the Twins, the team that traded him away. He wants to go 150 pitches. Sure doesn't want to go 47. Right. I mean,
Yeah, what are you saying?
where's that heartbeat?
It's tough to see because it's almost like the feel aspect of the game has kind of it seems like it's gone away a little bit. And it's like you mentioned, Johnny, like I thought that stuff was gone when we saw that Blake Snell incident. I thought that would force a lot of managers and front offices to be like, okay, maybe in certain situations like this, you do let the guy who's had experience like John Schneider in professional baseball, you let him take the reins on something like that, or you just use your eyes and see that this guy is dealing and there's no reason to pull the plug on that,
Well, when you look at last night with Zach Gallen,
Yep.
I mean, Zach Gallen should have got pulled, or if we're going on this pull to start or early
Sure.
deal, that guy should have got pulled in the second. And then he comes out in his post-game interview and he tells Torrey, he goes, you give me 110 pitches, I get you in the seventh. Like, that's dog. When your starting pitcher says that, okay. And, I think it's bit Dusty Baker a few times, which, I'm so grateful and for him and that he got a title. But he's on the other side. He's always been kind of kicked in the butt for leaving a dude in too long, for having too much faith in a guy and not going to the matchups. Be like, this is my dog. I'm rolling with him.
Yeah, he's definitely old school.
That's the Houston. That's the Houston Astros ball. You see Bruce Bochy doing that too right now. But yeah, that's what makes the game so interesting, and everyone's so locked in. And it can be the third batter in the top of the first and a 3-2 count, and the place is going bananas. It's fun baseball.
It's crazy because those situations and those moments, say he pulls Barrios and Kikuchi comes in and slams the door shut and goes the rest of the 5 innings in that game and allows no runs and they win. He looks like a genius, but of course now they're home and it's a different story. So those things always, I don't know if they balance each other out, but it's just that's baseball, and it's but it has seemed to come to fruition a lot more than I think we would like. But I want to ask you, in your experience on those specifically those World Series championship teams that you played on, was there ever something, because I talked to Grilli about this in our last few episodes leading up to the playoffs, and I'd be curious to get your input on it as well, but when you have a team that's so successful like that, one, can you tell going into the season? Is there a point in the season where you can tell? And two, what is it that you can tell about that team that separates them and makes them a championship team?
Well, I think there's two different mentalities, right? There's a World Series or bust. So that's obviously the big teams. And then there's let's get to the All-Star break. Let's reload, recalibrate. And then let's just get into the playoffs, reload and recalibrate. Okay. But would it be so I went to the playoffs with Tampa, Cincinnati, Oakland twice, Boston, Kansas City, and the smaller markets. So Cincinnati Reds and Oakland, when you get in, you think you're going to win the World Series.
Nice.
You really do. Right. And even, looking, the outside looking in now, there's a couple teams when you're like, you guys, it's a win. If you get swept this round, but, you did great. Yeah. And they'll go back and they'll reload. And sell some more season tickets, and get everyone excited about the youth. I think where it stands right now, which is like really cool, Baltimore being in for the first time in a long time, Arizona being in for the first time, like they really think they can win. They really do. And I'm looking back being like, yeah, I mean, I've seen weirder crap happen. The Twins, right? I mean, you give Sonny Gray
Oh my
is
God.
a dog,
Yeah.
right? Sonny Gray is a dog. And if it wasn't for his hiccup in New York, I mean, this guy is the most competitive dude. And that back pick right there, like, whoa, right? And guess who backed him? That guy who's been there for a long time, Correa, right? They did a little hat deal, whatever. We'll see how that. But I think that's what's really cool, like right now, is I think every team in is not on house money. Like they think they can win.
That's so cool. That's so cool. It's such an exciting time too.
Yeah.
And I think when you mentioned talking about Sonny Gray and that back pick with Correa and him having the experience being in moments like that, kind of being able to lower the heart rate and just focus on playing the game within the game, I think is super impressive. Were there teammates that you played with that stand out to you? Or, I mean, obviously yourself at a certain point in your career, you had been there enough times. Were there other teammates that kind of helped you when you got your first taste of the playoffs and were able to sort of relax and, that sort of thing, settle in?
Well, I mean, after kind of being in there for a while and then having the young guys and kind of like, what to expect and like it's like expect the unexpected, first of all. And then when you get into the playoffs, it really becomes like leading by example. You're done with the team meetings. You're done with the freaking powwow talks, right? You're done with all this. I mean, the Brewers down 1-0 with the game on line, Milwaukee down, all these guys. There's not like a big powwow after the game. It's like, oh, let's get back. I mean, the time is now, right? So you really want your veterans to like lead by example. And even if it's that like at bat in the fourth inning when he lays off that 3-2 slider, you're like, whoa, that dude's got ice in his veins. Like I'm swinging at that like before he even releases it, right? I mean, how this dude, we talk about like slowing the game down, right? Slowing the game down. Like, Craig Kimbrell the other night with the runner on second. This dude drops the ball on purpose for a balk to get him over to third. Like, you think this dude doesn't have ice on his veins? I don't care if there's one runner on or three runners on. I'm punching this dude's ticket. You're like, that's leading by example. And that's where the veterans really come into play. Not so much what they're going to say, it's how they approach the game.
Man.
Too, with the playoff stuff coming up too, I'm curious. A big factor. I'm waiting to see these wild card games. We've got some top tier teams that got the bye and sitting, and I know sitting and even waiting 2 or 3 days, your body starts to hurt, and getting in that rhythm to flick on that switch, it may take a game or two to kind of get ready, and that's not a fun place to be, even if you're the favorite, right? So. Look at the Phillies. They're going to come in hot playing the Braves, which I know is going to be a thunderous atmosphere. Johnny, I just went to the alumni. They had me down there. I hope that you get that treatment too, man, because it is unbelievable being in that energy outside that park. But, yeah, I think talk about that, what you're thinking about, the momentum, right? I've just when you got to win those 11 games, a wild card team. I'm always favorite. I've been on a wild card position a couple times, and that was kind of like the Kickstarter because it's a do or die type of feeling,
Yep. Yeah. So the wild card guy, those teams always, go deep. I mean, the Giants a couple times their stretch.
Yep.
The Cardinals, 2014 Royals went all the way to Game 7, would have won it. Bumgarner wasn't there. But yeah, I mean, you're up in your place and you got 4 or 5 down days, and baseball guys are creature of habit.
Yeah.
Creature of habit. You want to play every single day, and it is rewarding to get some days off, but you got to find a way to stay in the fight. And you saw the Braves this year, and they're going to do it a little bit different than they did last year. They're going to start having like inter squad games, and that's what we did in 2013 with the Red Sox. Is we had like think 6 days off. And we played 3 inter-squad games in Fenway, and they opened up the gates so the fans could come in for free to create a little bit of atmosphere.
Wow.
And I'm towing in the box in an inter-squad game against Koji Iwahara. And I'm like, this dude's on my team. I don't want to face this dude. And your thing, it's kind of like a lose-lose sitch. Like, I take this dude deep. Is he going to go off? But at the same time, I don't want to get my ticket punched and, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I think it's really good to play some inter-squad games and getting them moving. I mean, ground ball fungos and, average BP for 6 straight days just doesn't cut it. You got to stay in the fight. And you're kind of out there with we won the division. We're on Club Med. And here comes Brandon Marsh's beard still smelling like champagne. You're like,
exactly.
These dudes got their hair on fire.
Yep.
Right? Like,
they're again and again.
Yeah, they're ready. Yeah, they're ready to rock. And then having those at-bats underneath you and having a little bit of an identity of your team, right? So, I mean, you look at, like, the D-backs right now. Like, they are going to fear 0 being behind.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They just came back twice. They came back from a 3-run deficit or 2-run twice. So, I mean, don't count them out. They're not playing to the scoreboard by any means. You get a couple guys on. You get Corbin. Corbin is a damn superstar.
Oh, my
He's just
God.
hiding out here in Arizona. America's going to know about this guy here pretty soon. And then, you're watching Texas. You're at home right now, Houston, watching Nathan Eovaldi, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're facing that dude? Like, he's back. Yeah, you better believe he's back. And then you're watching the Twins, you're doing this, and you watch the panic from every dude on second base when you're playing the Twins now after that just single back pick.
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, but the entire pitching staff that Twins rotation possesses. I mean, that's a weapon. And then, I mean, Duran in the 9th inning.
Yeah, let's
Are
just
you
throw
kidding
100
me?
mile per hour
Are you
off-speed
kidding
pitches.
me?
Yeah.
I can't. So it's interesting to watch because, and I know we'll get you out of here soon, but it's so fun to talk about this sort of thing. But I mean, you watch things like that, and we talked to Sean Casey earlier this year, and he was talking about the importance of, obviously the game has changed a lot, and the fact that it's, the home run ball is extremely important. It's important to have guys on your team who, opposing pitchers fear. The Atlanta Braves, you guys' former team, is a perfect example of that. But he was talking about specifically the playoff time when you have to face 1, 2, and 3 in the rotation, and then your 7, 8, 9 guys in the bullpen, who all of those playoff teams have, they've got nasty stuff rolling out every year, and it seems like we've seen that more and more nowadays in the game. But what's so important about, having a lineup that's able to grind out at bats, specifically when it comes to the playoff time?
Yeah, well, I tell you, and I truly think it's like, series to series, right? Like the Twins, right? Do you want to grind out at bats and get into that bullpen early? No, absolutely not. So how does your approach change? I don't know. Maybe you want to be aggressive early in the count instead of getting that, we call it the 20 pitch count per inning. So 20, 20, 20, 20, that's 100 in the 5th. And then here come the fireballers. You can have a little bit of identity, but at the end of the day, it's just flat out who scores more runs than the other team.
Yeah.
How you do it? I don't know. Going against Tampa, put the ball in play and let them freaking kick it around. It's weird, right? You don't do it. Load them up and let your 8-hole guy hit a grand slam. I mean, you just don't know. But what I think is interesting is we got a lot of really stacked teams, and head to head, it's pretty even. I mean, on the gambling side, you're not going to see that plus 200, that plus, 275. It's all going to be right around the evens. And it's the teams that find a way to beat themselves. You could argue with Toronto, right? They just grounded into a double play with bases loaded. They got picked off. They made some errors. You're not going to outslug a team. You're not going to outpitch a team. These teams, it's that air column and that giving the extra 90 and that pass ball And it's not really the stolen base because everyone's going to steal bases, but he can steal second and steal third. He just can't touch the dish. So it's going to be who can continue to play the games they played for 162. Toronto obviously didn't. Milwaukee didn't. Who was the other team? Tampa didn't. So it's a pretty fair matchup. I mean, Atlanta's never going to be an underdog. You can book that, but they're not going to be too much favored for sure.
So who's your prediction? Who are you going to see? Who do you want to see in the heavyweight championship fight at the end? What are you looking forward to seeing?
So I still got some buddies on like all these teams, and I can't really go against them. So with these like predictions, like I go to like the fan base, right, and who's like starving for it right now. I think Philly is, because last year every single pro team in Philly lost in the championship game. Right? The Eagles lost. The Phillies lost. Their soccer team lost. Their basketball team lost. Like, I mean, they need a quick boost. And my gosh, are they hungry. Now, Baltimore obviously could. I would like to see Baltimore. But at the same time, I'm kind of biased because Baltimore is going to be here for the next 10 years. Oh, my God.
Their young talent is unbelievable.
And they got like 4 dudes in the minor leagues.
They're still coming up.
Right. 3 years from now, they're going to have an absolute logjam and have to trade for some bigger name dude because they just have too many good players, right? I at the same time, I root for the underdog, but at the same time, I love dynasties, right? Let's go ahead and pack Mookie Betts' numbers, right? Let's get him these 5 rings. Let's get Freddie these 5 rings, right? Let's get Arizona back on track, right? So baseball is a copycat league. So how about just like dudes that are like 5'10" to 6 foot that just fly around the bases and don't strike out? That's pretty cool for the game. Let's cheer for those guys. Texas, I love what Texas did in the offseason. They're just like, they started with Seager and they went to Simeon and DeGrom, right? And DeGrom goes down and we don't even talk about that. Right, because these other dudes stepped up, like Nathan Eovaldi, and then you go out and get like a Max, and then now you're gonna have like a Max Scherzer Verlander matchup in Texas and Houston, which is huge.
Jordan Montgomery's an underrated piece for them. He's been phenomenal. I mean,
absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, it's and then like Garcia in left field. Like, yep, America, pay attention to this dude. Hits the ball on the 4th deck. It's pretty freaking exciting. Yeah. So it's cool, and I think all the fan bases are jacked up. I'm out here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and everyone's got Diamondback fever. Tickets are flying around already. Try and get to a game. But I just love the atmosphere. I love the atmosphere. I was telling someone the other day, I said, out of like all these games, the most important games have 2 things. One, they have paint on the grass. Opening day, All-Star game, and playoffs, there's paint on the grass. So there's paint on the grass, and the other big thing separated is a flyover.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when you got paint on the grass and a flyover, it is freaking go time.
Man. It's one of the first things I asked Grilli when I met him is tell me about that moment when you're because some of my even before I met Grilli and we had this podcast together, I remember watching him strike dudes out in the Rogers Center and getting pumped up, coming off the mound, screaming and everything. And you just, I mean, as an athlete, you relate to that, but there are so very few people who are able to do it at that level. So that was like the first thing I asked him. I remember, what was it like? And you were just like, the game's a roller coaster, and that's the peak right there. It's just, it doesn't get any better than that. And I'm sure you can attest to the same thing.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Grilli and I, both grinders, had to fight for everything, and I was always so jealous, of David Ortiz just hitting grannies and 3-run pumps and all stuff, and it's like expected.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I mean, this guy goes to bed every night just thinking about how many RBIs he's going to have, and I'm going to bed every night being like, just don't be Bill Butler, right? Just
that's not pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. My whole playoff run, I tell you what, it was just an absolute panic attack in the outfield of just don't drop the ball. I mean, you're going to have to uproot your family. You're going to have to go into hiding. You're going to have to blah, blah, blah. And this guy over here is just like, if he can hit the red seat, at Fenway before. I'm like, Jesus. I'm just up here trying not to embarrass my family.
This is why you were never mic'd up on the field, because your brain, you'd be talking to your brain like you are now. But hey, man, it's landed you 2 World Series championships.
Mm-hmm.
You've played with a boatload of awesome guys. They're our fraternity brothers. You're one of mine, bro. I can't thank you enough. I wish you all the success that you've already had. I know you're doing some other cool endeavors. Life after baseball. It's almost like we want to go back because I'm busier. I know you're busier than when we were players. It's crazy. But
yes,
all your success.
Life after baseball just got me more baseball.
Yeah.
There you go.
Talking about it, coaching about it, this or that. And I remember when I retired with the cleats, retired from playing, it took me like 4 months to figure out that I'm just not cut out for the real world. Like that, baseball is all I know, and I'm totally okay with it. Just a baseball rat, whether I watch it, talk about it, or coach it, broadcast it, you name it. It's a lifer, that game.
That's awesome.
It is, man.
That's awesome.
Love having you on, man. It's this is what the sad part about life after is we're all spread out. And we can't just knock on each other's door at the hotel and be like, yo, you want to do breakfast? Or, hey, you want to go to get some Lavos, those great meatballs at place that turns into a club scene.
Bless that place. Jeez.
Right? So, Johnny, we've always had some good times, man. And thanks for making it another good one here. And the fans, if you don't know Jonny Gomes, you better follow him, pay attention. He's doing some good stuff for amateur baseball.
Yeah.
And, thanks, brother. Always good to see you. Hang out with you, man.
Thank you, Johnny.
We'll have another visit pretty soon, of course.
We hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Jonny Gomes. I mean, everything we talked about before the interview, I think, rang true. Just the amount of stories that he had, some of those funny stories you guys were telling, especially the
it's good to relive them too, man.
That's right. I'm sure, right? And it's exciting to listen to a guy talk to. I get that jolt every day, every week from talking to you, but it's you could tell when people are passionate, and this is a guy who is still super passionate about the game of baseball, and I think that shined through in our interview, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he would make a great manager or bench coach. I think Johnny is a guy that is respected and would like it, but again, he's got a big family, man, and he's doing some good stuff outside the game. Like you said, the Acrotech Baseball Cloud, some of the analytical stuff for a lot of these kids to get to the next level like we do. So, it's good to have him as a guest. I miss my teammates, man, so I got to line them up. Going into the offseason, playoffs and offseason, we'll maybe even have some more time to bring some of these clowns that I've played with on.
Let's do it. Well, I can't wait to hear from more. It was a great start to that little line of clowns that you got coming out. So that was great. He was fantastic. So we really thank you guys for tuning in and watching this episode of Mound Visit. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if you want to give us a follow, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Mound Visit Podcast. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast if you prefer to do that as well. And then follow us on our social media. Those are at Mound Visit Pod. You could find us there, and just hit us up with any questions, anything you want to hear from us. We're happy to do that as well. So, Grilli, anything else before we
wrap it
up this week?
Fist Pump episode number 32. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.